Hello students, welcome back. So in today's session, we shall be starting off with module 3, which is training and development. In our today's video, we shall be studying about what is a training need exactly. So training needs analysis and what are the ways in which training needs analysis can be done. So first, let's try to understand what we mean by training needs analysis. So it is a systematic and objective determination of training needs. So ultimately, the company wants to understand what aspects of a job do people require training. If any problem is there relating to the organization, diagnose that problem in the organization and accordingly give training to the employees. New employees who join the company will be performing several tasks. So try to understand what are the tasks that the employees are performing in their job and accordingly provide them with training. And it can also include the performance level of the current employees. So you're trying to understand where is it that the current employees are not delivering results, and accordingly, if at all training will be helping them, we should try to engage a training session for them as well. So what we understand by training need analysis, as I had already told you, it's a determination of the training needs. How do you determine the training needs? Training needs can be determined by three major types of steps. One is something known as task analysis. Another one is called performance, can also be called as person analysis, and another one is organizational analysis. Let's have a look at task analysis. Normally, task analysis and thereby identifying training needs is done for new employees who are likely to join the company. So what happens here is the job exactly that employee is going to do. That job will be analyzed. What are the tasks which goes into that job will also be analyzed. According to it, for each of the tasks that the employee is going to perform, a certain training program will be provided to the employee. I'll give you one small example over here. See, take an example of identifying the training requirements for a printing press operator. So what we have towards the left hand side over here is a list of the tasks that the job of a printing press operator carries out. Job is a wholesome term. Within that job, there will be several tasks. So the job of the job profile is that of a printing press operator. So what are the tasks that a printing press operator does over here is, they will have to start the motor of the printing press. Then they will have to operate the paper cutter, and they will have to set a certain cutting distance so that all the papers are of equal size. Then place the paper on the cutting table, push the paper up to the cutter, and yes, there are several other tasks which are following. So thereby, when I'm trying to do a task analysis or a job analysis, we have listed each of the tasks that goes into the operation of a printing press. For each of these tasks, we will see what skill is required. Accordingly, training will be given to the candidate. So relating to starting a motor and setting the cutting distance. So the skill which is required is reed gauge. So that particular skill, it will be taught to the employee. Then place the paper on the cutting table. So the skill which you require for this is lift paper correctly. So training will be given to the candidate, to the employee, on how exactly to lift the paper and how exactly to handle the paper. Then push the paper up to the cutter. So here the skills or the knowledge required, what is given over here is, must be even. So must be even. Then the next one is grasp safety release with left handle, essential for safety. So all these things, how to exactly keep the paper even as it is pushed up to the cutter. On that aspect, training will be given. So on the different tasks, based on whatever has to be done for the different tasks, accordingly, the training will be given to the candidate. So ultimately, what we have under task analysis is we try to identify the job description and the job specifications that comes related to the job and thereby the tasks. I think job descriptions and job specifications, I have already explained this to you in my previous videos. In module 1, I think we would have handled this. Just to give you a brief review on what is job description and job specification. Job description is what are the different things that you have to do related to the job. In other words, what are the different tasks that goes into the job? What are the specific duties that has to be done into the job? Job specification speaks about in order to perform those duties or in order to perform those tasks, what qualification is required, what skills are required. So all these things relates to job specification. See, I'll give you one small example again over here. See, supposing we are trying to employ a person for the position of a web developer. We are trying to see what skill a web developer should have. He should be knowing a certain programming language known as Java. Next, we are trying to employ a person in the position of a supervisor. What skill they may be required? A skill that they may be requiring is interviewing skills, ability to interview the workers and thereby take them into the job. So obviously, the skill required for a web developer is knowledge of Java. If his knowledge of Java is not sufficient, accordingly, the training will have to be given to this employee. Or he has knowledge of Java, but specific to this company's web development, training can be provided to this web developer. And similarly, for a supervisor, you're taking them in and then giving them training related to various aspects like how to make reports of the workers, how to maintain the reports of the workers, how to maintain the attendance records of workers, and also how to interview the workers. All these aspects of training will also be given to the supervisor. So as I had told you, according to what tasks have to be done, training will be given. According to what skills are required, also for that also training will be given. Now, where do we collect information relating to the job? So related to what duties have to go into the job, related to what skills are required for doing the job, where do we collect all this information? Information can be collected either from the current job holders themselves. Then it can be also collected from the supervisors. It can also be collected or the immediate reporting authority. Or it can also be collected by actually performing the job. So for relatively unskilled work, supposing a person is trying to do a task analysis, by literally doing that work, they will understand what are the different tasks, what expertise or skills are required to do the task, and accordingly training can be imparted. Moving on to the next way in which we can analyze training needs. We can decide upon training needs or decide upon the training programs for the future. There is something known as performance analysis. Performance analysis is normally done for current employees. So here we are answering the big question as to who needs training. So who will exactly be needing training over here? Those people who are lacking in their performance in some way, wherever there is a performance deficiency, such people will be requiring training. So for example, you're checking for performance deficiency. So I'll give you one example over here. Now, while evaluating the performance of the business development sales force, we have understood that in a particular sales team, everyone is able to get around 10 sales contracts per week. But one Mr. John is able to get only 6 sales contracts per week. So based on a certain performance expectation, you're trying to see how a candidate or an employee has performed. based on a certain standard expected for performance, how has the candidate performed. So based on this comparison, we can understand in case there is any performance deficiency. One more example of checking for performance deficiency is, it need not be related to a candidate especially, it can even be related to any unit or any department. Okay, so take an example here. There is a particular company which has factories in different places. Each of those factories has a particular type of machinery. So that machinery is there in all the factories. The same model, the same type, the same design machinery, all these things are same in all the factories. In all the factories, that particular machinery reports only 2 accidents per month. However, in our particular factory, that machinery is reporting 5 accidents per month. So here again, you're noticing some kind of an anomaly. You're noticing some kind of a deficiency again over here. So what can be done to correct this deficiency? The people who are operating that machinery are not knowing exactly how to operate, because of which accidents are happening. Thereby, here we are identifying a training requirement. We are identifying that training has to be given for this situation, for the people who are operating the machinery. Similarly, in the previous example that I gave you, when all the other Salesforce, when all the other employees of the Salesforce department are able to strike 10 sales contracts, why is it that Mr. John is able to strike only 6 sales contracts? So there, once we recognize the performance deficiency, we can always impart additional training to John, or think of other options also, like transferring him or something. Okay, so that we can just see later. One more. How do we collect data relating to performance deficiency? So how we collect data is again either from the employees' superiors or from the employees' peers. So what do you mean by peers? P-E-E-R-S. What do you mean by peers is those people who are working along with the employee at the same level of that employee. Or you can even collect data relating to the employee from job related performance data. So job related performance data will give details regarding the frequency of absenteeism in that employee. It will give data related to the number of accidents that this employee has caused, minor or major, or whatever it might be. It might be data related to how many times the machine that the employee has been operating has to be repaired. Or you can even collect data relating to, because of that employee, late deliveries has happened to the customers. You can collect data from the job related performance data. You can collect data related to customer complaints. All these things ultimately boils down to one employee or a certain department's employees for whom training has to be given. So I'll give you one example related to customer complaints. Now this is a situation where one of the customer complaints was that these sales representatives are not able to give enough information related to a product, how it works, what are its features, what are its advantages. So thereby, for a particular product, this customer is giving a complaint. Maybe for all the products, other products, they are doing a good they're doing a good job when it comes to educating the customers. But however, for one particular product A, these sales force are not giving proper explanation related to that product. So thereby, from this, we can identify a training need that, okay, this sales force has to be given training, has to be given information and education related to the performance of product A, the benefits of product A, the way in which product A has to be used, and all the other terms and conditions that are associated with product A, like warranties and other things. So this is again a way in which training needs are recognized. Very importantly, if you see the last point, we need to make a clear distinction between can't do versus won't do. I think all of us are, we can understand how we can perceive what is can't do and how we can understand what is won't do. Can't do means I'm not able to do that work because of several reasons. I'm not able to, the employee is not able to perform, maybe because that employee does not have required skills. Maybe because when the employee was taken into the company initially, adequate training was not given to them. Maybe the employee is not knowing the set expected standards. See, take an example of the case of John, what example I had used a few minutes ago. So we understood that in a department sales force, all the other sales force are striking 10 contracts per week, but John is striking only 6 contracts per week. So if we just look into it, the reason is because John does not know that the standards of the company is 10 contracts, because of which he is not trying to reach those 10 contracts. He's not doing enough to reach those 10 contracts. So this also might be, the company has to look into it. Another reason why employees can't do a particular their particular job properly could be because they do not have sufficient equipment or instruments to do the job, or possibly the employee might not be having a proper job instruction manual, which is giving them step-by-step instructions as to how to do that work. All these things have to be evaluated while you're trying to understand the can't do aspect of an employee's non-performance. On the other hand, there is another thing called as won't do aspect of employee's non-performance. This means employee is capable, but still the employee is not performing. Motivational reasons could probably be the only reason. There might be other reasons also, such as some kind of stress, some kind of problems what they have at their family. It could be something, they might be into drugs. All these things, possibly it is hindering the employee's performance. In such situations, you need to probably, if motivation is the cause, you probably need to revise your rewarding systems. You might have to revise the employee's salary. You might have to revise other benefits that are given to this employee, or a certain group of employees, or employees belonging to a certain department altogether. So all these things we need to evaluate. See, many times employers, many times companies, they fall into the trap of giving training for non-performance. They give additional training thinking training will solve the problem. But this can't do versus won't do analysis, if you can just understand, many times non-performance is not because of inadequate training, it's because of lack of motivation or other factors which creeps in. So you need to really try to think whether training is actually required or not. And you need to evaluate other options also. For non-performance, training may not always be the solution. If an employee is not performing well, you can probably just shift them to another department or transfer him to some other department. Or you can probably suspend the employee, or terminate his job altogether. So all these decisions you can make. Having a look at the third way in which training needs can be analyzed is by way of something known as organizational analysis. So what is organizational analysis? It's identifying those areas in the organization which require training. So how do we identify these areas which requires training? So the second point which is given here, we are speaking about trying to look at those activities which are affecting the company's short-term and long-term goals, and maybe even the company's values, so or the company's long-term vision. So take an example of one company which ran into trouble, Merrill Lynch. Okay, a financial consulting company. So this company was into trouble because they were accused, or maybe even pleaded guilty of many fraudulent practices. So the moment the CEO was changed because of this, the moment the new CEO stepped in, he understood that, okay, fraudulent practices are happening because top level managers, middle level managers, lower level managers are all not having proper ethical values in them. So first, let us try to change the way of thinking of these top level, middle level, or maybe even the lower level managers by giving them training related to the business ethics that has to be followed in any company, and Merrill Lynch in particular. So this is a way in which when any activity is affecting the organizational goals, we can identify where training has to be given. One more example we can see. IBM's long-term goals are short-term, and maybe even long-term goals are customer satisfaction. So at one point of time, the company saw that there are many people from the sales department who are quitting the company. Maybe because they are not able to cope up with angry customers or irritated customers, and they're not able to meet the targets what the higher level management is imposing on them. So because of all this work pressure, they are quitting the company. So to avoid this problem, IBM gave additional training to the already existing sales force, and also gave sales related training to other job employees as well, other employees who are doing some other job, and inducted them also into the Salesforce team. So ultimate result was that the huge sales force, the ones who were already existing and the new ones from other departments who were given the training and thereby joined the sales force. So this huge sales force could obviously reach out to more customers and thereby result in higher levels of customer satisfaction, thereby meeting one of the company's goals. Then moving on to the third point here, you can also identify training needs based on the data that you retrieve from HRIS, Human Resource Information Systems. So Human Resource Information Systems is an electronic database which gives details relating to each and every employee working with your company. What was their date of joining? What department are they working in? What are the exact jobs that that employee is having? What are his qualifications? What are his skills? What was his previous experience? What are the additional skills that he has required, that he has acquired in the process of working with the company? All these details will be given about each and every employee in the Human Resource Information System database. So from that you can retrieve. Now take for example, if a company, which, okay, let's take an example, Ford company. Now Ford company wants to change its support system to, to use another kind of programming language. So thereby the employees who will be using that support system should be aware of that new programming language. So thereby take out the Human Resource Information System database and dig out information related to each and every employee and what skills they are having. From this, we will get information on how many employees are already having knowledge related to that new programming language. How many employees do not have knowledge? So thereby, how many people actually require more amount of training? Based on this, you can determine how many people training has to be given to, or which will help you in determining what are the number of batches in which training has to be required. If a huge number of people do not have knowledge regarding that new programming language, you'll have to give training to all those people. So you might have to form different training batches. Accordingly, you will have to schedule your training program, and also take the top management's approval for them to give you finance to conduct the training program. And supposing the number of employees to be trained is less, you can cut short the training program to just 1 day or so. Next, limiting factors of the organization. Many times, one example here is the organization's culture itself does not promote much training. which is stemming from the top management. Top management is not having, is not able to appreciate the importance of training, is not able to understand the importance of training. So thereby, they do not make sufficient provisions in their budget, and thereby they do not give sufficient finance for conducting the training program, obviously, which is going to be difficult for the company. In such a case, there is an example of one of the hotels which was facing such a problem from their top management. Thereby, during one of their training programs, they also invited the top management people. They insisted on the top management people to come forward and sit for those training programs, so that the top management can understand the importance of training and what are the important topics that are covered in this training program. So based on that, we can convince the top management in the future, and accordingly you can plan out on your training needs as well. So now moving on to the next, it's more or less like a summarization of whatever we had just done now. Importance of training needs analysis. So from what we had just studied now, it helps us to understand those tasks which require training, specifically for the new employees. This is nothing but task analysis. It helps in identifying performance deficiency in current employees, which is performance analysis. It helps in identifying limiting factors of the organization, which is affecting training. Organizational analysis helps identify activities which are affecting short-term and long-term goals. So this is basically an exam question. What is training needs analysis? What are the steps involved, and what is the importance? So with this, I shall be concluding today's video. I shall meet you guys in the next video with other topics from module 3. So in the next video, I'm planning to cover what are the methods in which training can be done. So I'll see you guys in the next video with that. Thank you.